Hello everyone, my name is Pavel Ryzhov. I am a recent, maybe not so recent PhD in biomedical sciences, and today I would like to speak to everybody who is about to begin their PhD journey, which I think, given the time of this recording, which is the end of August 2020, probably there's quite a lot of people who are about to start their PhD journey. And the reason why I'm making this video is because I feel that as a newly minted PhD, very there's a lot to learn and there's a lot to grasp and try and map a plan for the next few years. And there's a couple of things that I think are important to get out of your way first to set yourself up for success. So in this video, which is a bit of an impromptu video, I'm going to go over some of the things that I think are worth keeping in mind as you begin your PhD journey. And I have a list in front of me that I'm going to use for that because I don't have it all memorized. But I hope this will help. Please let anybody else that you think might benefit from this list know about this video. I would really appreciate it. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, first things first, as a PhD, you're faced with a lot of writing and a lot of tasks that you would need to start doing all the time. And this pile of tasks will be very difficult to manage early on, especially if you've never done any kind of research before. So, before setting yourself up for this long haul, try and find a way to organize your notes and tasks in some kind of systematic fashion. What I've personally used for many years now is a task management app called Todoist. This is not a this is not a sponsored video by any chance, but I absolutely love this app. I've been using it for over 4 years, and I think it really helped me to manage all of the tasks in terms of their priorities, in terms of their deadlines, projects that they're involved in. So having some kind of systematic way of keeping track of your notes and tasks is super critical. Um, and there is another distinction is not just about it's not just about doing staying on top of your tasks. It's actually about also the note keeping, and that's a sort of a second point. The note keeping itself can be done in different ways. You can just have a lab notebook where you just jot down your all your experimental procedures with a pen, for example, or it can be electronic. And in 2020, I feel that there is no right or wrong answer per se, but I think if I were to pick, the wrong answer is maybe simply written records. I think it's actually going to be a disservice if you just stick to written notes, because we are slowly, or not slowly, depending on how you see it, transitioning towards just fully electronic record keeping. And in a PhD, you would be probably dealing with a lot of computer documents. So having some kind of uh, app that can actually take care of all of your notes as you go on in your PhD journey would be super critical. The app that I used for all the note keeping that I've done in my PhD was OneNote. It's free. You can just download it off of Microsoft website, and you can again organize all of your notes by projects, by subpages, and you could just drag and drop all the files in there. Have even to-do lists inside the program itself. So that helped me quite a lot. Granted, maybe at the expense of my written notes to some extent, but it's really up to you how you want to organize your notes. But it's very, very important to have a system early on, because then you will just stick to that for many years and you know exactly where everything is located. The next topic is being friendly. I think being friendly, specific, like I want to speak from my experience, is super important for anybody who is about to begin a multi-year journey in a laboratory. You want to be friendly with everybody in the lab as much as it's possible, especially the lab manager. Shout out to my lab manager; she's awesome. I sat right across from her, and we've been really good colleagues throughout the years. She's been very helpful for me, but it just goes to show that it's important to stay friendly with everybody, because you are there not just for a month or 2 months or 6 months. You're there for many years. Could be 3 years, 4 years, 5, or even more years. So you gotta get along with everybody, because this is your family. This is your small community of people that will make or break your PhD. Honestly, they will. If you're friendly with them, chances are that they'll be friendly back, and they will help you when times get tough, because they inevitably will. So that's another tip. The third tip is remembering work-life balance. I cannot stress this enough, because it's so important to uh, maintain a sense of normality when you are tackling such long projects. You want to work hard, but you also want to come home and relax and regenerate some of that energy, because it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So taking early steps and establishing your work-life balance, how many hours you spend at work, how many hours you spend at home, what you do at home, and how you recharge in terms of your hobbies or interactions with friends or family. Make sure you have a strong support system, and that will carry over and will help you throughout the years. The next topic is reading scientific literature and asking for people's opinion. Reading science literature, obviously, as a PhD, say in sciences, is obviously important. But having a head start on reading as much as possible early on, because typically you don't really start doing crazy experiments right on. You just really are learning about the field more, establishing your sort of basis, fundamental knowledge of the field that you're about to enter. But on top of just reading a bunch of research papers, you got to be smart about that and actually ask opinion of people in the lab or close collaborators that the lab has worked with before, on sort of what is their take on the field. So as you read the papers, you actually have some additional insight about the evolution of some of those scientific ideas, and what should you pay closer attention to, and maybe some of the ideas that have not gained as much traction. And speaking from my experience, I've read a lot of papers over the years, and including in the beginning, but there were instances where I would be told that, oh, that paper, no, no, this is not good. This is not a good paper. And if you're not sure about this, especially when you're just starting, you should really ask for other people's opinion to see what has previously worked in the field and what sort of other branches of science that sort of have been clipped already that you should just not necessarily pursue. So that's another tip to start early on, is read the literature as well as ask people's opinion about it. Another critical piece of advice that I'd like to share is to pick a project, or try to pick a project that will actually give you meaningful results early on. And from my personal experience, I never had that. And this was very difficult for me, frankly, to establish my own sense of confidence that I can do certain experiments. I was actually working very hard on a project for almost 2 years, and I didn't really get to the place where I wanted to. And that's because of the fact that this was a quite challenging project to tackle. So my confidence tanked progressively over the years, and that was very difficult for me to just to get back up from. And if you can, try and find a project that maybe somebody has already worked on, and you're just putting either finishing touches, or there's a small project within a bigger scheme that you just can tackle on and get results. Build up your confidence, build up your technique if you're working in the lab, and just sort of gain trust of your colleagues that you know what you're doing. You get the results. You may even get a authorship or co-authorship on a paper that as a result of that small project. So that's very important, because again, you want to build up on that confidence over the years. So by the time you graduate, and over the years, you actually get enough experience that you've built upon, that you have a succession of more challenging projects as you go along. So starting small, building up, that's the advice that I would give. Um, Another piece of advice, I know I'm just all about advice today, but I think it's very valuable to hear this from somebody who just finished this journey. And looking back to that, I wish there was some things that somebody would tell me about them. So another advice is establishing strong relationships with your principal investigator, your supervisor, as well as your staff scientists, because and it sounds cliche, but let me maybe give a little bit of a additional description why I think this is relevant. So your supervisor is obviously the person who will be responsible for helping you get on the other side of your PhD, getting your degree, and having a mutual understanding of the goals, as much as they would change over time because they inevitably will. But establishing a line of communication with your supervisor is super critical for making sure that you stay on track, and having maybe awkward or difficult conversations early on might certainly help you to actually find that potentially project that you can work on early on, or can help you maintain a proper work-life balance because you know what the expectations are. And when it comes to like staff scientists or sort of just senior members of the lab in general, it's important to know how what their work style is and what kind of expectations they might have for you, especially if you're working on the same project. And that's also very important if you would like to learn something from them, because inevitably there's so much new in PhD that you would have to learn on and become an expert in. So having a firm way of contacting and communicating with senior members of the lab on a scientific level would really help you early on to know, okay, this person knows how to do that, that person knows how to do this. And knowing how to contact them and get those nuggets of information early on would really help. And the last thing is maybe not, it doesn't have anything to do with science, but I think is not last but not least, and it is food. So you might think, wait, what are you talking about? So food. Why do I say food? So here's the deal. When we are doing the PhD, this is again multi-year commitment. I talked about work-life balance, but consider this: you have to stay healthy. You have to make sure that you are taking care of yourself, and the big component of that, is sleep, is interactions with other people. But another thing that's very big is food. If your diet goes out of whack because you're stressed or whatever, you're going to set yourself up for many problems down the line because they will be exacerbated by hardships in your PhD. So making sure that you're actually staying healthy from the point of view of the kind of food that you eat is super important early on, because I could attest I actually gained 10 kilograms over the course of my PhD, as well as dropped it afterwards because of the fact that I wasn't really taking care of myself as well as I should have. So that's very important to keep in mind, because you want to stay as healthy as you can. Again, it's a marathon. You want to don't overexert yourself when it comes to your health. Take good care of yourself. So I hope these are the tips that you will take with you at the end of this video. Hopefully you will share it with other people who are just starting your PhD. I would like to get this message to as many PhDs as possible, because I think this advice, as well as some of the other things that I'll be sharing over time, will hopefully help you on your journey to successful completion of your PhD. And at the end of the video, I'd like just to say good luck. This is going to be tough, but you can do it. Thank you very much for watching. Again, share this video, put the thumbs up. It will really help me a lot. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye. Stay safe.